Hello, it's good to have you with us at this hour. I'm Daniel Choy. It's Chuseok here in Korea, the annual fall harvest holiday, one of the biggest national holidays for people here in South Korea when people travel back to their hometowns to visit their family and pay their respects to their ancestors, which is why we're starting with the latest on the traffic conditions for those who are on the road this evening. At this hour, major highways are still congested and expressways look like oversized parking lots, according to the Korea Expressway Corporation. If you're driving from Seoul to Mokpo this evening, it will take more than 5 hours and 10 minutes. It's 4 hours and 50 minutes rather to Gwangju from Seoul, 3 hours to Gangneung, 2.5 hours to Daejeon. And for those on a quest to get to Busan, brace yourself for a 7.5-hour family time in the family car. Highway authorities expect around 5.3 million cars to pack the roads, staying bumper to bumper for a stretch of more than 200 kilometers. The traffic moving from Seoul to other parts of our country peaked at around 5 p.m., but will start to ease up after midnight. And for those traveling back to Seoul today and tomorrow, the congestion will begin to ease after around 4 a.m. Monday Korea time. Chuseok is a time of the year when families gather together to reconnect with loved ones, but not everyone has that privilege. A number of war-separated family members in South Korea gathered at Imjingak Park on Friday to remember and pray for their relatives north of the border. Gwangju takes us there.
These are a few of the 66,000 people in South Korea that have been separated from their families due to the Korean War. They are taking part in Manhyangje, a ritual ceremony for the homesick. They have gathered here in Imjingak because it's just a stone's throw away from the inter-Korean border. They want to be as physically close to their homes and relatives for the Chuseok holiday.
It's been almost 70 years since I've seen my cousins. Of course I miss them, especially when I come to an event like this. I worry about them so much.
Since 1988, almost 130,000 people in South Korea have registered as members of separated families. Half have passed away, almost all never having seen their families and homes again. Since 2000, a series of family reunions have been arranged by both Koreas, but only a handful of people have had the chance to take part. There's another reunion next month, but the chance of being picked is over 600 to 1. None of the people here have been selected. Decades have passed, and new lives have been made, but the memories and emotions of home are still raw.
1950, December 17th, 7 in the evening. I told my mother I would be back soon. That was 65 years ago already. I feel so guilty, I would have nothing to say to her now, other than I'm sorry.
I miss my home so much, my heart aches. The pain is indescribable. I wish I could walk through my hometown. I would embrace it and just cry. I pray and pray for that day to come.
Even after 65 years, for the separated families, the memories of their home and relatives remain strong, and they live in hope that one day they will see them again. Gwangju, Arirang News.
Let's turn to a more lighter side of the holidays here in South Korea. Everyone has a few choice comments or questions they dread hearing during family gatherings. For Koreans, these revolve around the subject of employment, marriage, as well as comparisons to other family members. Our Iji went out ahead of the Chuseok holiday to gauge how destructive or constructive these words can be.
What do people in Korea dread hearing the most from their families during the holidays? On a recent afternoon in Seoul's Gangnam district and at a university just outside the city, people weren't shy about expressing their dislikes.
Are you preparing for the civil service exam? When do you think you'll pass?
Comparing with someone else.
When will you have your next child?
When are you going to get a job?
Make a lot of money and get married.
Comparisons between our children and their cousins.
2 surveys done ahead of a holiday last year show people are often triggered by things related to where they are in life. With most people in their 20s either looking for or getting ready for a new job, this group's least favorite question is about employment. People in their 30s who are closer to the average marrying age dread questions about marriage and family planning. And people in their 40s hate to hear others bragging about their children or worse, about themselves. The same goes for people in their 50s, but on top of that, they dislike comparisons to siblings or cousins. So given that these kinds of questions are so common and the reactions to them so similar each time, why are they repeated so often?
Because our educational system is so focused on academic achievement, our society lacks a certain sensitivity and warmth. Elders try to show they care with questions and remarks, but what they say is often so inconsiderate that it hurts.
Other experts say Korea's familial bonding practices aren't necessarily bad, but too much interest in private matters may make listeners feel uncomfortable.
On the other hand, what people want to hear the most is that their family is there for them no matter what. With that in mind, how about some words of encouragement this holiday season? Have a wonderful Chuseok holiday with your family. 이지원, Arirang News.
In other news, stronger cooperation with the United States and China is vital for a reunified Korea. That's according to South Korean President Park Geun-hye. During a meeting with the heads of several research institutes on Korean issues in New York on Saturday, local time, the president described reunification as the ultimate solution for curbing Pyongyang's nuclear ambitions and human rights violations. The communist state is believed to be preparing for a long-range rocket launch to commemorate the 70th anniversary of the founding of its ruling Workers' Party. President Park added Seoul will counter any provocations from Pyongyang in a stern manner while keeping the door open for dialogue. Turning now to the UN Sustainable Development Summit. On Saturday, President Park Geun-hye pledged to donate $200 million as part of a new initiative to improve the lives of girls in developing countries. Hwang Sang-hee files this report from New York.
Better life for girls. That's what President Park Geun-hye promised in her keynote speech at the UN Sustainable Development Summit.
소녀를 포함한 미래 세대에게 보건과 교육 서비스를 제공하는 일은 지속 가능한 미래를 보장하는 가장 확실한 투자가 될 것입니다.
For that, South Korea will launch a new initiative next year dubbed Better Life for Girls and donate $200 million over the next 5 years. That would benefit girls living in 15 developing nations, including Nepal and Bolivia. In a separate high-level forum on Korea's Rural Community Development Program, President Park welcomed the OECD and the UN's move to benchmark the Saemaul movement for developing nations. The Saemaul movement is an initiative that led the modernization of the Korean economy in the 1970s.
By adapting to the distinct needs of countries and to the changing times, the Saemaul Undong can become a strategy for rural development globally and for progress nationally.
On Sunday, President Park will attend a special luncheon meeting with her counterparts from major countries on climate change. She will then hold separate summit talks with leaders from Pakistan, Denmark, and Nigeria. Hwang Sang-hee, Arirang News, New York.
Also at the UN Sustainable Development Summit, a proud Korean program from the 20th century was mentioned as an effective model for development. To explain why the Saemaul Undong or New Village movement has and will continue to attract global attention, here's our Oh Soo-young.
By the end of the Korean War, Korea was impoverished, one of the poorest countries in the world. Today, it is the world's 13th largest economy. The Saemaul Undong has been credited for the transformation. It was launched in 1970 by President Park Chung-hee, the father of the current President Park Geun-hye. The movement inspired communities to become self-reliant in improving living conditions based on diligence, self-help and cooperation. Together, villagers built new roads and infrastructure. They also undertook agricultural reforms, transforming the rural landscape.
The Saemaul Undong wasn't only about improving materialistic conditions like infrastructure or individual wealth. It was about locals' dedication to making their communities prosperous by overcoming poverty and creating a better future.
Spreading from village to village, Saemaul Undong's can-do spirit quickly became a nationwide movement. In the space of just 10 years, Korea's per capita income spiked more than fivefold, topping $1,500. Korea also saw significant improvements in health, education, industry and transportation. Because of its success, the Saemaul Undong has drawn international interest as an effective model for regional development. Its archives were even listed as a World Heritage Asset by UNESCO 2 years ago.
What sets Saemaul Undong apart from other development models is that it empowers locals to stand on their own 2 feet, instead of only relying on top-down government support or international aid.
More than 57,000 visitors from over 140 countries came to Korea to study the movement, and over 130 countries have adopted the model in their own rural communities.
Many countries use this model to develop their economies from being just aid-dependent to self-propelling. So World Bank will try to partner with Saemaul movement across many countries in the world.
Encouraging communities to have a can-do spirit, the Saemaul Undong continues to create a legacy of hope and development around the world. Oh Soo-young, Arirang News.
More than 14 million foreign tourists visited Korea last year. At the top of their shopping list, cosmetics and perfume. According to the Korea Tourism Organization, each of these visitors spent roughly $1,600 on average last year, with nearly 60% of the total on cosmetics and perfume made in Korea. Clothing and groceries were also popular among them. The largest number of tourists came from China, with over 6 million visiting Korea last year. That's more than 43% of the total. Tourists from Japan and the U.S. ranked right below the Yoke, or Chinese travelers, in Mandarin. On this Chuseok evening, make sure, if you're in Korea, get out of the house to soak in the glory of what's being called a super moon, visible from all parts of the nation. For those of you who are on the road, headed to and from Seoul on Monday, you'll want to drive very carefully. Some foggy conditions are expected in the morning, though that's supposed to clear up later in the day. The mercury will dip all the way down to 11 degrees Celsius in the morning, but will bounce back up to around 29 in Seoul and the surrounding areas. That's Korea for you. Let's check out the weather conditions outside of the country and around the world. That's it for now, but we do have another newscast coming up at 10 p.m. Korea time, so for more updates, do tune in to Arirang then. For those of you celebrating the Korean Harvest holiday, wherever you may be, we wish you all the best and hope you're enjoying the day. Thanks for watching.